because they did not take action back in April, and they did not get bullish back in April when the capitulation occurred on April 7th, April 8th. And now they missed out. They missed out on this rally.
And now 20% higher. Now I'm getting emails. Oh, I missed the signal at that time. I believe the world was going under, whatever reason, my emotions. So now is the right time to buy, or what should you do now? For me, this is bearish. Not that a bear market is coming, but that a pullback, a correction is coming. Normally, when I get many such emails, it tends to be a contrary indicator. Watch out. On March 4th, I said sell, but if you sell on March 20th, you are too late. Look, this is insane. The S&P dropped 20% in 6 weeks, and then it recovered 20% in 6 weeks. So it's like a sharp V pattern.
I mean, for goodness sake, I'm saying this to my viewers now, for those of you who are watching the news, especially financial news, please do yourself a favor. Put aside the garbage financial news media. Do you think the next pullback, the next correction that is quite around the corner, probably likely, do you think it's going to be a modest, shallow one, or do you think it's going to be a deeper correction? All right, guys, hello and welcome. We're honored today to have my special guest, whom I'm sure you recognize from my previous videos, my good friend and trader, Manuel Blay, the DowTheory.com. Some of you probably remember back in March, Manuel Blay made a phenomenal call, a brilliant call, which I'll explain a little bit in this video. But what we're going to do here, Manuel Blay and myself, dig into the charts, the stock markets, and we'll examine what these charts are likely telling us about the major markets. And also now that we're seeing extreme greed in the market, we're going to ask Manuel Blay, what does he see in the market in the near term? So does he see more risk in the near term, or could we just blast higher into much higher levels? Which one is more likely for him? And where is he for the longer term picture? Is he bullish or is he bearish? All right, guys, join us. Okay, welcome back. Guys, thank you very much indeed. Manuel, how are you doing, by the way? You well?
Hey, happy to be on your YouTube channel. Always a pleasure. Thanks for bringing me here.
Before we dig into the charts, is that a football shirt you have on there? Is that Spain? Is that Spain?
Well, maybe half of your audience is going to be disappointed. I'm going to show you more. Real Madrid.
Oh, Real Madrid.
I am in Madrid. I am in Madrid right now.
You told me you're about to go from Madrid to Paris and then, sorry, Barcelona.
Madrid, Barcelona, a couple of days. Perpignan, south of France. And then Germany, Munich.
Manuel, you made a phenomenal call back in March, which I have to say even shocked some of our viewers, because I remember back in early March, I'll put a clip for you. You said that very likely after the Dow theory bearish signal occurred, I think that was around the beginning of March. And then you said, and I'll put the clip, that you're expecting an 11% further decline in the market.
And you can see that the average decline after a Dow theory sell signal is a further 11.22%. So it means that there is still significant, on average, downward price action. So when we had a sell, there is still lots of room for the stock market to fall.
So beautiful call, by the way. I have to say, I think it shocked many people. By the way, of course, when I say shocked, I mean the people who did not watch our videos. Our viewers were expecting it because they saw the video that you and I did. Manuel correctly called and foresaw the big drop that occurred before the Trump tariffs, before even Trump talked about it
long before. Right?
Exactly. So we were expecting that big drop. Only the media were caught unaware and shocked. We were prepared for it. And right about there, at the beginning of April, I think it was about the 7th or 8th of April, both you and I called capitulation. You beautifully called capitulation based on your model, the Dow theory model. And I also called capitulation based on some of the indications I had based on acceleration extremes and also some other models as well. So when you combine capitulation, a bottom, and a thrust, and notably if you have two thrusts, because several thrusts cluster it, it's an extremely powerful signal. By the way, guys, before we continue, if you haven't yet subscribed to Manuel Blay's excellent newsletter, the DowTheory.com, so go ahead and check it out. Absolutely highly recommend it. I read your newsletter, Manuel, religiously every time it comes out, and even your bulletins, I read them. I think it's phenomenal, great research that you do. So we were both bullish at the beginning of April on the stock market, while most people, including the mainstream media, were extremely bearish. They were all saying, no, the market's going to go much lower because Trump is going to do this and is going to do that, and China is going to do
A
this.
recession is coming.
Exactly. You're right, Manuel. There was so much bad news. Nobody actually believed that the market was going to bounce back. What's interesting now is, Manuel, you told me before we started this discussion, you told me that some of your subscribers, some of your own subscribers have now remorse. They're having regrets because they did not take action back in April, and they did not get bullish back in April when the capitulation occurred on April 7th, April 8th. And now they missed out. They missed out on this rally. They're now having extreme FOMO, fear of missing out. Tell me what you've been hearing. So tell me what kind of emails you've been getting, and what it means to you. What does it mean to you, these kinds of emails you get?
First off, sometimes it really pains me. I feel sorry for sometimes even for my subscribers, because we spell black and white. Look, this is capitulation. This is bullish. Then there was second opportunity. There is a thrust. Third opportunity. Right. Margin debt became bullish. So there were, as the market was going, first was the bottom, a little bit higher, and we were getting different bullish signals.
Correct.
And I telegraph these signals to my subscribers. And furthermore, you know, Alessio, that I have a real money portfolio. So it's not that I say I have my skin on the game.
Absolutely.
So if I say I buy, it's not, well, buy you, but I don't know. I put my money on the line. So sometimes it really saddens me because I try to be transparent. I preach by example. Look, I bought. And it pains me because, of course, we have emotions. And then it seems, I know now that many, at least some subscribers were not heeding the signals, and now 20% higher. Now I'm getting emails, oh, I missed the signal at that time. I believe the world was going under, whatever reason, my emotions. So now is the right time to buy, or what should you do now?
Yeah.
And of course, we are market timers. So first, there are two messages. For me, this is bearish. Not that a bear market is coming, but that a pullback, a correction is coming. Normally, when I get many such emails, it tends to be a contrary indicator. It means that people now are warming up. Well,
yes.
And when they warm up, and I start getting emails with regret, oh, I missed the buy, but is it time now? Normally, it indicates that at least a 3%, 4%, 5% pullback is on the horizon. Watch out. I'm not saying a bear market, because I still remain very bullish long term. But that a pullback is coming, yes, and of course, but this is bad timing, because if you buy at the top and immediately after you buy, you go down 5%, well, maybe eventually you will recover, but it's not the best timing. And this is what I wrote in when I was answering such emails. I said, look, we are market timers. Don't forget that. We are market timers. So timers, time is of a sense. On March 4th, I said sell, but if you sell on March 20th, you are too late. So market timing means that if I say sell today, you sell today, or buy tomorrow, you buy tomorrow. It's not you buy 1 week after, but because markets move really fast. And Jack Shannon wrote that in his great book, said, look, markets move faster in the 21st century. This was one of the main tenets of his book. And he's right. Look, this is insane. The S&P dropped 20% in 6 weeks, and then it recovered 20% in 6 weeks. So it's like a sharp V pattern. But this is insane. But of course, when markets move so fast, you have to react fast. If I say sell on March 4th, you must sell on March 4th, not on March 21st. And if I say buy on April 8th, you're supposed to buy on April 8th, not on July 7th, next Monday. No. And of course, this is the answer I give. Of course, if you're patient and you take a very long-term view, okay, I bought 20% higher, and if the bull market continues, and I think it will continue, eventually you will make money, but you will make less money than the people that bought on April 7 or on April 22nd or on, I think it was June 13th. So we had several opportunities. And the higher it goes, you will make money. Probably
Yeah,
yes, but of course you left something behind, and you will never make do, or you'll never compensate for the gains you lost, because we are market
true.
timers. Time is of essence. Time is essential.
And I'm trying to figure out why they did not pull the trigger back when capitulation occurred, when you mentioned, and when I mentioned capitulation occurred back in April. And I think the number one reason is fear. People watching the
Yeah.
news. I say this so many times in my videos, which I'm sure you've seen, Manuel. I mean, for goodness sake, I'm saying this to my viewers now, for those of you who are watching the news, especially financial news, please do yourself a favor. Put aside the garbage financial news media. Instead, instead, do yourself a real favor and subscribe to Manuel Bly's thedowtheory.com newsletter. By far, the best thing you can do is read Manuel's newsletter, which he publishes every month, and with the bulletins that come. I'll put the link for you guys so you go ahead and check it out and subscribe.
Your audience should also never miss one of Alessio's episodes, because you give a complementary perspective, and sometimes you are more Elliott wave oriented. I
Yes,
am Dowser oriented, but most of the time we tend to be aligned. So we
yes,
tend to have the same, but it's good for me. So it's kind of confirmation. It's not confirmation
sure.
bias. Watch out. But you're really very good. You're really very
Thanks.
good.
I really appreciate it. I really
And of
appreciate
course,
it.
for me, it's important to see, okay, what's Alessio thinking?
Let's go now to the most recent things we've seen. The CNN Fear and Greed Index for the first time is now showing extreme
Mhm.
greed. We were in the greed territory for a while, but now, just I checked it recently, we've seen CNN Fear and Greed Index going to 78, in fact, in the extreme greed territory. Put call ratio also showing extreme greed. And by the way, the best indicator on the planet are, in my view, the social media comments, especially the comments I get on my videos. And like this one, for example, I'm sure I'm going to get comments. Let me tell you what happened. The most recent video I posted where I said there are danger signals of a pullback in the market. I got comments like, no, Alessio is wrong. We're going to go straight to 6,800. I was thinking, what? The market's going to go straight to 6,800 without a pullback, without a correction of some sort? I mean, how does that even work out? There were several comments saying the same thing. No, we're just going to keep going higher to 7,000, 6,800, or something like that. And again, it boggles me how some people think that the market is just going to go in one direction without some kind of a pullback, without some kind of a glitch.
Trees don't grow to the sky. The market must take a breather.
Exactly, exactly. But let's talk about this now. So, I mean, we're seeing several overbought conditions on the market. I mentioned them already. If you haven't seen that in my previous video, go ahead and check it out.
Mhm.
I don't want to repeat myself. But look, we're getting extremely overbought, overstretched on the stock market, and we've got extreme greed now in the major markets as well. The question is, do you agree with me? Do you agree with me, Manuel, that we should probably see some kind of a pullback or correction in the next few weeks, the next several weeks? Do you think we're going to see
Yes.
some kind of do you think we might see a shallow pullback, a modest correction or pullback, or do you think we're going to see a deeper correction or pullback? By the way, before you answer, Manuel, I want to make it very clear. I am not expecting a crash to go below the lows of April. That's not what I'm expecting. That is not what Manuel is expecting either. So we're both long-term bullish. I think some people truly
Yes.
misunderstand us. When we say a pullback, a correction, we mean a temporary retracement, not a crash to go below the lows of April. Because I'm just expecting a pullback correction before we go higher again in the next several months. I'm long-term bullish, but short-term I'm cautious because I'm expecting some kind of a pullback.
Yes, there is risk for a pullback for several reasons. First, emails I'm getting. Second, the fear grid index, anything you said. Thirdly, this market structure is extremely overbought in the short term.
Yeah,
And not even the short term, even in the medium term.
that's right.
So I mean, medium for me is several weeks. So it's overbought, sentiment is overbought. So it means that when you have both factors, sentiment overbought, bullish, too bullish, and technically it's overbought, the most likely outcome is a pullback. Overbought sentiment and overbought market condition, and furthermore, if it goes up still 1% more, it will become even more overbought, even more. So I
True.
expect a pullback.
The other thing I want to mention here is quite important, which is that just because we're expecting a pullback or correction does not mean that we're recommending or suggesting that people should short the market. Okay. I am not,
No.
and I'm pretty sure Manuel is not doing that either. We're not recommending anybody to get short or sell or buy into the market. Okay. So again, this video is purely for educational purposes, as I mentioned before. Manuel, let's go to that point. Do you think the next pullback, the next correction that is quite around the corner, probably likely, do you think it's going to be a modest, shallow one, or do you think it's going to be a deeper correction? I've noticed there are some analysts out there who are suggesting that the market could see a very deep, very sharp uh, drop back down to some levels like 5,400, 5,300 even. Do you agree with them? Do you see a deep correction coming or more of a modest, shallow correction?
A modest correction for one reason. It's not gut feeling. Just for one reason. We had a cluster of breath thrust in April. Not only the Zweig thrust, but also
Yeah,
other thrust. No, I expect a modest pullback, but it's not gut feeling. It is because I studied breath thrust inside out. And when we get a thrust, such as the one we got on April 24th, the next 6 months are particularly strong. So, in other words, the pullback that occurs after a breath thrust tends to be really very modest. But there are pullbacks. I'm not saying that it goes up in a straight line, no, but the odds of having, for instance, an 8% pullback are really very small. So my own studies show that normally the maximum pullback is 5-6%. So you get a thrust. It's really like propelling a rocket to the space. It's a big thrust. Well, this is the word. It's a thrust. It's a breath thrust. So there is a big thrust, and it propels the market higher. So this is why I don't expect. I don't forecast. I'm just based on the studies I made since 1978, but it's already a quite long span of years. And no, I don't expect a big one, but I expect one pullback now because it's
sure.
overbought in sentiment and also technically.
But I think you're absolutely right. I think the risks are increasing, but I mean, just from the general comments I'm reading on social media, people absolutely making fun of anybody, making fun of me included, that is holding a contrary view. Anyone who holds a contrary view saying we're going to see a pullback or correction, no, no, no. By the way, guys, before we finish, I want to highly suggest do check out Manuel Bly's newsletter, thedowtheory.com. Phenomenal and excellent work and research that Manuel does, and definitely check it out. I'll put a link for Manuel's newsletter in the description. Highly worth your time, and definitely check it out. I think it's by far one of the best research newsletters out there. So, guys, check it out. It's right there, the link. Check it out. Thanks very much indeed. Thanks, Manuel.
Thanks to you, Alessio, for having me here. Always a pleasure. Take
Thanks very
care.
much. Cheers.